What's up? This is Trem, and this is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. And specifically, this video is going to be on how you can reach Silver 1 in the Classic Arena within your first month of play as a free-to-play player. You can see I'm on my free-to-play account right here. I've reached Silver 1 in the arena, have been able to farm some medals here. And if you look at where I'm at play-wise, I am actually just about at the end of the month. I'm not quite to day 30 where I'll get High Katoon. So this is in 29 days of play. Now, if you've been paying attention to the game, you know that for the past couple of months now, Arena has been seriously broken. It used to be pretty easy to get into Silver and maybe even Gold tiers in the first few months of play. Now, we regularly see teams of all level 60, mostly legendary champions, even in high bronze, not to mention Silver. And so this has made getting into Silver really, really difficult. And effectively, it's a blocked progress on the missions where you need to be getting up into Silver and eventually Gold if you eventually want to get that Arbiter in the game. Now, Polarium has announced that they are making changes to the arena in the next patch. And so potentially this could be getting a whole lot easier soon. And in that case, it may be simple to reach Silver 1 at that stage. But hopefully the things that I'm going to talk about today, these tips, could be helpful even then as far as getting you into even higher tiers, so maybe high silver or even into gold. So when thinking about how to be successful in the arena, there's a few different things you want to consider. And the first step is building your team. And so what team is it that's going to allow you to be successful and to actually reach that silver tier? So if we go in now to my champions, actually, let me show you first what my arena team looks like. It is actually really the standard team for a free-to-play player. This is my defense team and my offense team. So I'm using, it's all easily accessible farmable heroes. I have Diabolus as my speed lead, Spirit Host to buff attack, War Maiden to debuff their defense, and then Kale, my starter champion, as the nuker. And so very, very standard team for a low spender free-to-play player. As far as though how you can be successful getting into Silver 1, it really depends on how you set up that team. And so that's what I'm going to go into now. And so the number one thing that is important here is speed. And if you've been playing a game, you know speed is super important in the arena. That if you go first, it tends to determine whether you win or not in most cases. And so that is 100% the case here. And so the thing that really the majority of people miss is how much speed is actually needed. I see a lot of folks out there talking about, oh, get your speed lead up to 200 or so. That is not going to cut it with getting into Silver 1. You really want your speed lead to be at least 220, and ideally as high as possible over that. If you can get above 230, that's going to make your job much, much easier as far as getting to Silver. So you can see here my Diabolus, totally outfitted for speed. I've gotten her speed up to just over 230 here. So she is at 234. And so that level of stat is really what's allowed me to succeed here. When I had her at 220, below 220, there really wasn't any path for me to get up into Silver. But once I got her up to 230, what I saw is that not only was I being more successful in attacking, that a lot more often when people were attacking me, I was actually winning those battles. And so that is really the number one thing here. You need your speed lead to have high speed. Now, obviously, early game, it's tough to get good speed gear. People talk about farming Dragon as a way to get good gear, particularly speed. But early on, you're probably going to have trouble farming the higher stages of Dragon. So really what can be super helpful is instead if you go into Campaign, and if you're on Brutal mode, and you go up to Stage 6, which is where you drop speed gear, and then farm the boss here. Because what that will give you is it gives you the chance of rare gear as well as uncommon gear dropping for all different types of gear. And so if occasionally you'll get pieces that drop speed gear with a speed substat, and then if it's uncommon or rare, you can level up and sometimes get that one or two extra bumps on your speed. You do that for a while, and you should be able to get gear that hopefully has at least 8 or more. Speed as a substat. And if you can do that, then it'll make it much easier as far as getting up to that 220, 230 level. You can see I don't actually have 8 on all my speeds here. The weapon only has 5. Helm has 9. Shield has 11. I was able to get 2 rolls in speed. 12 for the gloves. 8 for the chest plate. And then the boots are just speed boots. Speed set, speed boots. At least 5-star. And so that combined was able to get me to that level of speed. You can see I don't have any accessories here. I don't have a ring, and I don't have Diabolist at a level where she'd be able to use 5 or 6-star accessories anyways. But yeah, so if you invest some time and effort into getting that speed gear, that will allow you to reach that speed level, which should really make a difference. Beyond that, as far as other folks on the team, you want them to have pretty high speed as well, because the speed lead, you'll get that boost, but that boost is only going to get you so far. And if your other champions are slow, it's not going to cut it, because you'll get cut by the other team. And even though you get to go first, you won't actually be able to get your full rotation done. And so everyone on my team I have at above 200 speed. So Diabolist starts, Spirit Host is second with the attack buff. She is at 208 speed. And then next up is War Maiden, who is at 203. 203. And then last is Kale, who's at 201. And so they are, with that speed boost, they generally can get ahead of whoever my opponent is. And that is what allows me to win a lot of these battles. So that is number one thing, speed. The other thing that's super important in thinking about your champions is obviously gearing them as best as possible to do damage. So Spirit Host, speed's the only thing that matters. She's buffing. Don't really care beyond that. You can leave her at 4 stars. Totally fine. War Maiden, ideally, you want to buff up a bit because with her debuff, she's going to be doing some damage. And so if you can do more damage, that's going to help you out with taking out the team. So giving her some decent attacks, some decent crit is nice. Again, speed is key, making sure you have enough. And the other thing that's super, super important with her is your accuracy, because you want to land a debuff. And so getting up to 200 plus accuracy will help make sure that even if the opponent has a bit of resist, you'll still be able to land a debuff. And so that when your nuker goes, he'll be able to do enough, he or she will be able to do enough damage to actually take out the team. So you can see here, I've got pretty high attack on my War Maiden, a little over 2,500. She's got pretty good crit rate. She crits most of the time. And then 238 accuracy. So that allows her to basically always land her defense down debuffs. And finally, nuker. I use Kale for everything really in the game, so I didn't build him out solely in a nuker role. But again, enough speed, decent attacks, make sure you crit all the time. He gets the 15% bonus in his nuke. And so you just needs to be above 85%. So with 89%, I get it all the time. And then I don't really worry much about accuracy on him. I'm not worrying about landing poisons in the arena, so I haven't focused on that. So that's really the build you want for the team. So that's step one, get your team in place. And I almost forgot to mention the other super important thing, and this actually applies really just to your nuker, is Masteries. So this is somewhat controversial. I know people have different ideas on this. But as a free-to-play, I would really recommend that one of your first expenditures for gems is on Masteries for a champion. To pay that 800 gems to max out their Masteries. And the reason is that makes a big, big difference, both for Arena and for Clan Boss. Going down here and being able to get the War Master gives you that huge boost in damage for Clan Boss, and so you'll be able to advance much more quickly there. But for Arena, there's just a lot of Masteries to give you some pretty good boost to damage. So right off the bat, you get the boost to crit rate, you get the boost to crit damage. But then going down the tree, there's just other things that could really, really help. Increase damage to targets under shields. Getting shields on the opponent can really screw up a nuking team. And so getting a 25% buff sometimes allows you to cut through that and make up the difference in damage to actually be able to take out the enemies. Beyond that, speed doesn't matter for this, though helpful for farming. Increased damage on your first hit, that certainly helps. Decreasing cooldown, not so much in this case. Shield buff, not so much. But here, yeah, getting increased damage for enemies killed. If you kill most of the enemies on the first wave, but then have one left, that can be helpful there. And then also War Master just can give you that little extra boost in the arena as well. And so that it makes a difference. And so I would say investing in those Masteries, not just for arena, but for a couple of reasons, early on, I would say is a very good investment with your early gems. All right, so we've got our team. So the next thing that's super important about getting into silver is choosing who to attack. Because an early nuker team, you're going to be limited in how much damage you can do. And so if you are not careful about who you attack, you may end up facing opponents you just can't take out, or who cut you in speed, depending on what their team looks like. And so the rule of thumb that I use generally for choosing a team to attack is trying to make sure that I'm pretty confident I'll be able to take out all but one enemy. Ideally all enemies, but at least all but one. If there's one champion left over, most of the time I can usually mop up well enough to be able to get through and win. But if there's two or more, that's probably it for me. I'm probably not going to be able to win the battle. So as far as who I can take out, if anyone is 5-star or below, I assume I'll be fine. I'll be able to take them out. That's not an issue. If they're 6-star, level 60, there's certain champions I try to make sure to avoid. First is any defense champion. So if you have a team, say like this one, where you have both Tyrell, who is a defense-based champion, and also Jizzo, who's defense-based, I probably nuking them am not going to be able to take out both of those, and the two of them together probably will be able to kill my team after. So I generally would not attack a team like this. The other one is any force units. Because Kale is my nuker, because he is a magic-based champion, there's a decent chance he'll get a weak hit against force-based champions. And so a level 60 force-based champion, decent chance I won't be able to kill them. So if there's 2 or more level 60 force-based, generally I'll try to avoid those teams because there's a good chance they'll survive and take out my team after. Beyond that, there are some specific champions that I make sure to avoid. Let's see, who do we have on the list right now? Actually, I'm not sure any of them are right here, but the ones I really look out for. So Duchess Lalitu, she has a passive that lowers AoE damage for the entire team. That generally is going to make it so the nuke often doesn't take anyone out. So never attack teams with her. Man-Eater, he's force. If he's level 60, he'll often survive, and then he can cast Unkillable. And so whoever's left over, I won't be able to deal with them for a couple turns, which generally will wipe my team as well. And then the other big one is Skullcrown. And yeah, okay, so we have a Skullcrown here. And so Skullcrown is attack-based, so often you can deal enough damage to him to get him down to 0. But because of his passive, her passive, that places an unkillable buff on her when her HP drops below 20%, she doesn't die. And then she will go right back and nuke my team, and very often that will just take out the entire team. So level 60 Skullcrown, always avoid that. The other thing I look out for, team power doesn't matter too much generally, but I try to keep it basically within a factor of 2 of my team power. So I'm at 55,000. If a team is at 110,000 or higher, or really 100,000 or higher, I generally avoid them. It doesn't necessarily mean I couldn't take them out, because often that may be because they have a high crit rate or something that doesn't really affect the likelihood that they will die from my nuke. But it sometimes means they have much higher defense or other stats that can block me from actually taking them out. So I generally will stick to teams that are below 100k as far as looking at who to attack. The other one to watch out for is teams that I think will have a good chance of going before me. So even though I'm at over 230 speed, there are certainly other teams that go faster than that. So generally what I try to avoid, if anyone has a speed lead that is giving them a boost of more than 24%, or something even 24%, I'll avoid that because I think there's a good chance I might go first. Lysandra, I generally avoid Lysandra just because if she does go first, she does both the 30% turn meter boost to her team and then decreasing my team by 30%. So if she goes first, basically everyone's going last, and that means there's no way I'm going to win that battle. But if you see other teams, let's see, I don't know if you have any here, but like Prince Kaimar with his I think it's 30% boost. The other team doesn't. Their speed lead can have pretty low speed, and with that 30% boost, they'll still be able to go ahead of me. So I try to avoid that. And then the other one I watch out for is any team that has double speed leads. So if they have, so like right here, if they have both a Seeker and a Gorgrab, both of whom are going to boost the turn meter, oftentimes those teams will have made sure that one of those champions has very, very high speed, and they'll go back to back, and then their whole team will go. So I will avoid teams that have 2-speed boosting champions, because usually I'll lose on those. So that is my selection criteria. Applying that, most of the battles I fight I can win, and that can help me slowly get ahead. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is in battle what to do. I don't know. I can find a team though that I want to fight. So here, well, maybe I'll try this team, but let's go down the list. Actually, I might fight a more defense based team that I know I'll lose, but just to show you the flow. Yeah. All right. Well, I think there's a chance this teammate may cut me here, so I'm going to avoid that. So I'm almost certainly going to lose this battle, but just to show you, 127 power. Let me see if there's one that I have any chance of here. All right, maybe I'll try these guys. This is a terrible team for me because 2 force champions and a defense-based champion with an HP boost. So I'm not going to be able to take them out, but just to show you what the flow looks like here. Because generally the turns, what you want to do with your champions is pretty straightforward, but the one exception is the very first move. With Diabolus, if you went on auto, the computer would, or your phone would cast Electric Storm to give your team that 30% increased speed. That is generally not what you want to start with. You actually want to start with Positive Charge, because that's what's going to fill your turn meter. And so when you're vying for first, it's that turn meter boost that's actually really going to give you that edge and be able to make sure your entire team can go before the opponents. So cast that. The other thing here, it also tries to decrease the opponent's turn meters by 15%. Now, if you don't have high accuracy on your speed lead, and since I'm invested solely in speed, that is the case here. I think Diabolus has like 5 accuracy or something. So she doesn't land that all that often. But just getting that 15% for my team usually makes a difference. So I start off with that. It actually did land on a couple of the enemies here. And then the rest of it is super straightforward, boosting my attack with Spirit Host, doing defense down with War Maiden. And then, yeah, you can see these guys still have their shields on, so there's no way I'm taking out this team. But then finishing it off with Acid Rain on Kale. And so, yeah, I got them to like half-life, and they just wiped my team. This is why we don't attack defense-based teams. But that is the flow. That's the steps you would want to use. And on a team of attack-based champions that weren't Force Affinity, oftentimes that would take them out. So combine all that together. And as I said, just to show you, once I got my... So recently I've been getting hit pretty hard. But if you go back on my defense, you'll see there's a fair amount of times now where I'm being attacked and being able to win just because of my higher speed. And so that combined with that careful selection of teams, that is what has allowed me to climb up into silver and allowed me to start doing some farming of silver medals. It's a very slow process. I hope they move fast with getting out the new patch that fixes the arena, because being able to I need those 50 to advance into progress missions, and that's going to take a long time as it currently stands. So that's the process of how you can get into Silver 1 in your first month as a free-to-play player. As far as what's next on the account, I am tomorrow going to get Haikatun, so I will swap her in for Diabolus because I get that higher speed aura. It goes up from 10% to 19%, and so that will boost my speed further. I will continue looking for and swapping in better speed gear to keep bumping that speed up, which should help me to stay in Silver and to maybe eventually progress to Silver 2, and then continue to grind the Silver medals. I think probably in the next few weeks I'll focus more on Clan Boss, just to make sure I can get a stronger team there, because that's obviously a super important part of the game as well. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I am planning to continue to post on my progress on this account about the tips and tricks that I learned along the way, so please do subscribe if you'd like to learn more.